Ruthie from FS Securities. We are an education and information firm on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And every morning I go through what happened overnight and try to forecast what we are most likely to see on our market and the global market tonight as well. And of course, what is hot and what is not, and what is necessary for you to fold and hold. And by the way, if you have any particular feedback, we would really love to hear from you. And I'll give you the address later on in this presentation. Well, last night we've seen the Dow went up by 2%, adding up onto the 0.6% the day before, and erasing some of the losses that we've seen 3 days ago. And the S&P 500 was up nearly 2%, the Nasdaq 1.8%. In Europe, the Stoxx 50 index, which comprises most major European markets, was up 3.4%. In London, the FTSE 100 index was up nearly 3%. The DAX was up more than 3%. In Japan, the Nikkei index was nearly up 5%. And in China, the Shanghai index was up 1.5%. And look what happened to our market yesterday. We were up nearly 4%, 3.9% to be precise. We closed at 5,942. Actually, at one stage, we went above the 6,000 points. And look, if you look at the previous 2 days, that's nearly 5.2%. And we erased at least half of the losses the previous 2 days. Okay, gold 1,734 compared to the yesterday morning. It was 1,727, up $7 US per ounce. And silver $17.62, up 22 cents compared to yesterday morning. And Brent oil $40.66 US per barrel, and West Texas crude oil $37.93 US per barrel. And by the way, if you look at aluminium was up 1.2% and copper was up 1.3%. Iron ore up 1.5% to $104 US plus 85 cents per ton. Soybeans continues to go down, as you can see here. Why soybeans? Because of course what we can maybe expect, what China is doing as far as American soybeans. The Australian dollar 68.8 US cents. That's well below the 69.2 US cents yesterday morning. 61.1 euro cents, 54.8 British pence, and 106 New Zealand. Okay, and Bitcoin, by the way, was steady at 9,300 US, and that converts to approximately 13,400 Australian dollars. Looking at the charts, you can see here we've had a big long candle. However, it opened and closed more or less at the same level. This is around the 200-day moving average. The candle tried to go above the 200-day moving average on the daily charts, and guess what? It bounced back. Well, we'll see today if it's going to continue to go higher and close above the 200-day moving average, which of course, if that happens, we expect that we are in perhaps more than a week or two, the market going up. Looking at the weekly here, the green candle 3 weeks ago went up to nearly 27,000. Then we had a bad week last week and reversed all of that gain, and we started to climb back up, trying to reach that high level again that we've seen 3 weeks ago. Look at our market. Again, the weekly chart, the candle closed above the 50% retracement from the very highest point that we've seen several months ago to the lowest point that we've seen probably around March sometime this year. We went all the way up to 38.2 Fibonacci retracement. We hovered around it for a while. We zoomed up towards the 50 and we managed to close 3 days or 3 weeks in a row above the 50% retracement, which is a good sign. Are we going to go back to 61.8, which we've seen last week? I think that's very likely that we might actually witness a movement towards the 61.8, which is about 6,140. Remember last night or yesterday we closed slightly below 6,000 after visiting the 6,000 level, and we closed at 5,942, and the market is expecting that we might see a rise of about 20 or 30 points today, so we'll see what happens. On the daily charts, the candle closed above the 100-day moving average. It did that about last week. We managed to go above it, and then 3 days we actually erased half of the climb on a daily basis, and now we see, if you look at the chart, and by the way, this presentation is going to be on the website shortly, so you can always go back to the website and see the whole presentation with the slide as well. Okay, the mechanical system that we have designed this morning, we've seen that the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P 500 all going bearish. That's actually 2 days in a row. Yesterday morning we've seen that, and again today. However, for the investor, the long-term investor, we've got bullish for the long term on the Nasdaq. Gold, we are bullish for all type of clients: investors, conservative trader, aggressive trader, and very aggressive trader. Silver, on the other hand, we continue to be bullish for the investor and bearish for the very aggressive trader. And if you're interested to have a look at all the other commodities, all you have to do is talk to us. We can actually help you out trading all of these commodities. Commodities such as wheat, corn, soybeans, orange juice, sugar, cotton, live cattle, etc., etc. The Australian dollar, we ended up being neutral for the last 3 days. We were bearish for the very aggressive trader, but now we've turned neutral for the last 2 mornings, this morning and yesterday morning. And we are bearish for the aggressive trader and the very aggressive trader for the American basket of currencies. And the euro, bullish with the exception neutral for the conservative trader, and British pound, bullish for the aggressive trader and very aggressive trader. Look at our market. The last 3 days, you can see that most of our stocks happen to be bullish with the exception of QBE for the very aggressive trader. We are bearish for the very aggressive trader, neutral for the rest. And we are bearish for Transurban for the very aggressive trader, and Telstra also bearish for the very aggressive trader. TPM continues to be very strong, as you can see here, for all type of clients, and so is Newcrest Mines. Okay, and finally we look at volume. Volume was actually down yesterday, even though 49% of all the stocks were actually advanced and only 14% declined. However, you can see the volume has actually decreased for a couple of days. Advances over decline week on week. You can see that this week so far the declines exceed well above the advances. Yesterday, amongst the top companies, we've seen that Super Retail Group up nearly 11%. Afterpay continues to zoom up, $56. It was only $16 a couple of months ago. Another 10% rise. Zip, 9.5% surge. Oil Search, nearly 9%, and so on. And by the way, again, this slide will be on the website shortly. And in terms of volume, we like to look at companies that have exceeded their volume on an average. If you look at 50-day moving average volume, in other words, you look at the last 50 days and work out the moving average across those 50 days and compare that with what happened yesterday. Well, Bellevue Gold continues to zoom up, continues to zoom up, and you can see here the latest price is 95 cents, and the previous price was actually 17 cents. And what we've seen here, the volume, the average daily volume over 50 days was 770,000 shares transactions, and yesterday we've seen 5.5 million transactions. High volume, high increase in the price. That tells you something. On the downside, we've got a company called Foslock Environmental Technology. It was down 18% and the volume was nearly 600%. Whether you can trade it on the bearish side and short it depends on your platform. Okay, finally, announcement today, looking all the way down, nothing in Australia. However, we can see that in America we've got the consumer sentiment. We expect this consumer sentiment to be 75. We'll see what happens tonight. And inflation expectation, we don't have any expectation, but it was actually 3.2% preliminary inflation expectation last time we looked at it, and it depends what happens tonight. In terms of announcement and results, looking at the Federal Reserve fund rate, still below, hasn't changed, below 0.25%. Going down, inflation expectation, we were 3.4% and the latest figures 3.3%. We expect inflation to continue to remain 3.3%. Depends on how the money that the government has been handing over is going to be spent. And PPI, the inflation rate, no change, minus 0.1%. Unemployment claims, they expected 1.55 million, while they had 1.54, slightly better. Okay, finally, our disclaimer. Everything we said to you here is actually for general advice only. There is risk in trading and you need to know your risk appetite. And before you take any action, please consult with your professional advisor or talk to us directly. If you were to talk to us and you have some questions, all you have to do is ask. You can write to me at George@FS Securities. FS stands for full service. George@FS Securities, plural, fssecurities.com.au. If you're ringing my mobile from overseas, it's 61, the country code, you don't need the 0, 61-411-259526. Ringing from local location on my mobile is 0411259526. I'm available nearly 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So please get on your phone and talk to me if you want to speak with me. Okay, all I can say now is happy trading, and I hope you make some money. I mean, that's what all I can say.